Hey, what's up, YouTube? Uh, I'm holding my mic like an idiot today because my mic stand is officially worn out. And no matter how hard I crank this guy right here, I can just see this thing falling with the weight of the mic. So I gotta get a new one. Yay. Uh, so, damn So there's gonna be a lot of videos, maybe eventually, where I like ramble and I don't really plan too much on the specifics of what I'm gonna say. But today, I thought I would go over just 4 basic tips that I would give to people trying to get started in songwriting. Not so much producing, but just songwriting in general. Uh, yeah, and these would pertain to any genre. It doesn't matter if like you're a rapper who's making beats or someone who just writes folk guitar songs or whatever it is. Um, Most of these are like mindset things that things, if you make them mental habits, will just make you a better music creator in general. So first one is active listening, which is basically picking and choosing what you're paying attention to when you listen to a song. Um, I feel like most people who don't play instruments and aren't into music and into making it or whatever, they see a song as like a brick. It's just one solid thing. And people, let's say if someone plays guitar, they might be obsessed with what the guitarist is doing, so they're using active listening to focus in on that. So it's a good habit to get into, and not just if you're making music, but if you just want to enjoy music more, just as a listener. So what you would want to do is listen to a song you like, and for example, choose like the drummer for example, and just focus on what the drummer's doing throughout the entirety of the song. Even when the singer like hits that high note that you like, and it like pulls your attention back, and like focus on what the drummer's doing. um yeah, like when they do drum fills, when they hit the cymbals, when they don't, things like that. And as that becomes a habit, it becomes easier to like work on your own music, because obviously if you don't have any active listening skills, you're not going to be able to piece together a song from scratch very easily. So number 2, open yourself to new genres. A good example of this is like there's a lot of people where like if they grew up listening to a certain type of music, oftentimes that's like all they listen to. Like let's say you like grew up on like rock and metal, and like that's all you're into and you're just super into that. That's all well and good, but it's like the more music you make, the more you learn about music in general, the more you start to see kind of a connection between genres, and you ultimately start to realize that the musical habits of a music creator are what ultimately makes a genre. You could take a rock song, and like you could make it a country song if you just knew like which notes to tweak where. But the main benefit of just listening to other genres is that it's going to get your mind a little bit out of the box. And even if if you make hip hop, obviously listening to country might not make your beats better. Like you're not going to start making country beats, but you just never know. The one thing you might notice in a country song will just give you like a little grain of knowledge that will give you a little bit of a different perspective on something else. Or, you know, like rock and metal are based very much in blues. And if you listen to blues, you can start to see kind of the similarities. There's a lot of classical type of chord progressions and theory in hip hop beats. I've noticed that. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to like listening to other genres, you don't need to like dive in super deep. One thing I've noticed is, let's say you grew up on like rock and metal, like with me personally, like I grew up on like rock and metal, so I've never been like super into like rap, but I like it. But when it comes to rap, I'm mainly into like the hits, the ones that are just like super popular, like very like Eminem, 50 Cent, these big guys, or like somebody with like the opposite, where maybe they grew up on rap but they know Metallica, like maybe they know like Master of Puppets or Enter Sandman, even just things like that, just to find out like what the hits are in other genres, and just use active listening, pay attention to them, give them merit where it's due. So number 3 is pay attention to song structure. And I've thought for a long time that I could create an entire YouTube channel on just song structure, just picking apart songs. So if you're making music, this is imperative. If you're just a listener, it'll help you appreciate music, but it's not super imperative. But so labels of sections would obviously be like intro, verse, chorus, things like this. Learn to identify them, and if you want, listen to a song and like draw it out. It's like they go intro, then they do a verse, and then a chorus, back to a second verse, a chorus, and then like an outro. Things like that. So, and when you listen to different genres, you're going to notice the patterns of song structure within that genre. Like pop music obviously is going to be very like quick intro into the first verse, chorus, verse, chorus, and then maybe a very quick prelude, and then maybe a very last chorus, but oftentimes just an outro. Whereas like dance music is not so much segmented like that. It's like one progressive idea, like progressive house, like the word fits. It's like one musical idea that progresses and just is kind of stretched out. But again, it might have like the intro and then like the peak of the song, and then it kind of eases out. So again, like active listening, pay attention to the song structure of the new genres you're listening to, things like that. And number 4 is mainly for music creators, not so much just listeners, but that is do something musically different in the second verse, which just means, you've got your intro, then you've got your verse. Now, usually what a lot of people do is they take what, like musically, not lyrically, usually, they take what they did in the first verse and they just cut and paste it for the second verse. Almost just kind of like go with their hands, like, all right, it's all, we'll just do that without really thinking about it. And one thing I've noticed through active listening is that I appreciate it when artists add or take something away in the second verse to just make it stand out. Because at the end of the day, you want your listener to keep listening. And the way to do that is to, keep them interested, and you do that with variety. And the thing is, it can be the same, musical idea. Like if you were strumming chords in the first verse, maybe arpeggiate them in the second. That's one way to do it. Yeah, I mean, you can get pretty creative. Maybe like if you had drums playing, maybe have the second verse with no drums or something like that. You know, it's just something to kind of throw people off if it adds to the song, and it's really up to you to decide if it does or not. So yeah, I just wanted to go over those just 4 kind of basic ideas, mindsets to have when making music. So yeah, thanks for listening.